So I'm so excited to be speaking to you about your amazing project that you recently completed and the powerful way that that came and served the planet. And so I have some questions to guide our conversation. And I thought it would be fun to start with what excited you the most or made you feel the most proud of your project?
Well, what immediately came to mind is that this all came from my personal life experience. Yes, I at some point would reach out to teachers and leaders and so on, and I've absorbed wisdom from all over, but it all began with my life experience. And um, and so I'm so excited about the the realness, the organic, the connection to the earth, even though it's about soul speak and the connection to spirit and the higher part of ourselves and the part that transcends our bodies, it is still grounded in the earth in real life. And that just really, I'm filled with gratitude and excitement about um, what that means for how empowering this is for us. You know,
Yeah, I mean, to be able to put those two things together, like, wow,
right.
yeah, beautiful, beautiful. So, and what was the biggest challenge that you faced as you were bringing this together and launching it out into the world?
Well, the one thing that I always long for is to not have it be blah, 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 blah. You know, have it come to life and have it interact with those that are receiving and interacting with the wisdom at that time. And so I'm not satisfied with that one way exchange, that hierarchical teacher to student. You know, like one of the cultures of Tour de Grace, my business is teacher, yes, student, always. And likewise, you know, the student, yes, the teacher too, you know.
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
it's that exchange between the work and the people receiving it that I value the most and find most challenging because sometimes we're used to taking on a passive role when we are students. And I'm about, activating and uh, what I say is that I don't just have access to this. We all have access to this. This is not mine. This is all of our birthrights, and to all our content for ourselves and for each other and for the world.
yeah. And so, was that a challenge in the sense of how do you overcome that? Um, how to not make it one way?
Yes, is how do I, what tools do I use? What do I do in the actual videos or the teachings, um, or especially for the self-study course, and then with the live Q&A pieces. How do I um, inspire people to engage and interact with the material rather than passively receive it?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's always, when I facilitate a small group, it's so much easier. But when you're doing it online and through other ways, it's a different thing, so
Yeah, I'm going to make a little bookmark about that because that's a topic I'd like to explore more fully when we're complete.
wonderful.
That dynamic. I've been ruminating about it. So your project, which is so beautiful. Congratulations, by the way. It's just been amazing to see. Has made such an important contribution to the world. And so, in your own words, Maria, tell us about the impact.
The impact is um, that I feel most strongly in my life and in the lives of those that are opening and awakening to this is that there is infinite assistance, support,
Assistance?
yes, infinite assistance, support, guidance, um, love really available to us 24/7, 24/7. And one of the messages that has come through me that people respond to the most is the entire universe is just waiting and wanting to help you break through and break free, to help you transform and evolve and ascend. The entire universe is rooting for you, and we need to learn to speak the languages. And there's multiple languages, and the 12 that I've learned are certainly not the only ones. Who knows how many, there were not 12 originally that I knew. It's just kind of continued to grow that way. And then to have an even larger, I only touch upon this a bit in this course, but I think it opened up. This is part of what I think has the greatest impact is this, what I call the evolutionary perspective. Because to interpret the language of spirit without understanding the evolutionary perspective is much harder. Once I got what later was told to me was named the evolutionary perspective, like it almost like brought up the light that much more. And so to be giving that perspective as well as introducing or increasing the fluency of those 12 dialects and the process, the 6-part process, it empowers. Like I feel like that each person, their light expands their empowerment to make truly inspired, empowered choices. It just expands exponentially, and then the ripple effect that that has with their circle of influence, each person.
Mm. Yeah, so I'm just feeling that in my body, that expanded evolutionary perspective and what that does for a person when they gain it. How radical that a transformation that is.
Yes.
Nice, nice. So, what would you like your beloveds to know now? I mean, on the end and the backside of this amazing project, maybe it's new beloveds that are still to come in, or beloveds you've finished working with. What would you like them to know if you could tell them anything? What would it be?
This is not woo. This is not something I find like, especially young men. Sometimes this is like the least accessible to young men, which breaks my heart. I find they're the group that has the hardest time because it is much more feminine with energy, to so to speak, in the languages. Um, and so I want I want them to know that it applies to us all, and um, it has meaning and impact for our day-to-day lives, our real lives, um, our relationships, our um, decisions about work or money, or um, that that it is that every single one of us deserves this. It's almost like unfair to have some of us have this access and not others, or know about it and not others. And so it's surprising me what I'm saying, because usually it's that the entire universe is rooting for you message that feels like so important to me. I love it. Uh, but there's something there. I'll have to think about that more.
Well, I really hear your passion and your commitment and maybe even your soul's purpose in that that fundamental belief that everybody should have this. It's almost a bodhisattva vow, you know.
Tell me about that.
The bodhisattva vow. Bodhisattvas are enlightened beings who have made the vow to stay in form until everyone makes the transition. And to just keep serving. So, yeah, you might Google that. Beautiful. That's so touching. And so as you were working through this offering and being able to find ways to bring it to people of all different levels of interest and experience, what was the biggest surprise or your biggest surprise as you went along?
The young women. The young women are just like, give me more and more and more, especially the women who are struggling to fit into a mainstream path. They're the ones that seem to be, although suffering, which breaks my heart, they're the ones that seem far more open and ready for this to come so much earlier than my generation. Like most of us had kind of awakened maybe at the earliest in our 30s or something, like started that intense awakening where I've been so like, oh my goodness, the young women, like late teens, early 20s, that are just ready. They're moving far faster. They're ready far sooner. And I just am delighted by what that means for them and for us, for the planet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And maybe they'll be the conduits for the young men.
Yes.
Yeah, cool. That's awesome. Just enjoying that vision of all those young women who you have activated and sparked anew. How lovely. And so where do you go from here, Maria, with your vision now that you've had that project successfully unfold?
Writing. I have at least 2 books, actually many more than that, but this project really helped to bring out the image of these 7 golden bridges, golden gate bridges to our higher consciousness and higher living, like embodied living in, like having this, as I was saying earlier, be embodied and impacting every aspect of our living and being. And so speak, was a very big step toward the kind of anchor above of these 7. And my other e-course, Break the Toxic Shame Cycles, is like the foundational anchor. And what's ahead is for me to magnetize the support that I need in order to bring this wisdom into book form to reach even more people than the ones that I could reach with the online courses and through my counseling practice. And to capture primary wisdom from the foundational part, the psychological healing, our psychological healing and development, and then the pathway with leading a spiritual life, connecting to that soul speak, that helps us with the what I call the middle part, which is a more societal movement and an evolution revolution of rising not only personally, each of us personally and relationally, but societally, where we can all rise and have these paradigms, these new ones become the mainstream. rather than the ones that are the mainstream now. Although more and more of us are
Wow.
over.
So really seeing a shift at a cultural level.
Yes, all rooted in true personal transformation, you know? But yes, exactly. It's quite a vision, and I'm not the only one working on this, you know? There's many, many um, lights, you know, getting brighter all over, and it's just amazing to see to be one of many that are bringing their gifts and their efforts to help us all cross over step by step, you know, one by one, 100 by 100, 1,000 by 1,000.
Nice. I see you there holding their hands and supporting them as they make that step over.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. So, if you could zoom back to the beginning of your project, what advice would you give yourself?
Hmm. Be patient. This is, I've been living this for at least 20 years, 20 plus years, and I live in this world of the psychological, spiritual, social, political, you know, um, and it's newer to other people. It's there are barriers for us all, even those that have been doing it far longer than I am, than I have been, you know, and it's scary to some too. And so I would want to tell that earlier me to to remember that and hold that and bring that infinite patience and um, not feel just overly discouraged or overly responsible, you know, for, for accelerating people's evolution.
Yeah, yeah,
To bring
right.
them.
They get to be in charge of their soul, gets to be in charge of their own unfolding, and you,
Exactly.
so kind of the beautiful thing about that is we can make it up if we wish to. That we've already made agreements with those people that will be serving, and so it's already done, right? So it's just a matter of having them in our sphere. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that was the last question.
Oh, wow.
What is there anything else that you would want to share about your project?
Well, what immediately came to my mind is that I've had a vision of ambassadors, of like senior students that have better ways of reaching different folks than I do.
Yeah, yeah,
That with my toxic shame model, for example, there was one colleague of mine who just kept on applying it to parenting in a way that far um, transcended my ability to do that. And so I want to welcome and grow into the person who can have those collaborative partnerships where I don't know what that looks like or what that would be like in the real world, in the financial world, in the whatever that is, but I know that that's a treasure chest, you know, of possibility.
mm-hmm.
Um, so thank you, Rima, so much for this. beautiful, and your presence really helped me connect to things I've never heard before, much less said before. So thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's really a thrill to listen, and to witness. So beautiful.